This lesson is probability for compound and simultaneous events using the colored pawn markers, the number die, the deck of cards, and the coins. We have three examples that we want to calculate today. We want to do the probability of compound events, both with and without replacement, and we also want to find the probability of simultaneous events, events that occur at the same time. I have 15 pawns laid out on the table in equal groups of 5. There are 5 blue, 5 red, and 5 green. So the first probability that we're going to try to calculate is if we perform this experiment using replacement. So the first example that we're going to do is we're going to look at what is the probability of selecting a blue pawn from this group. Well, there are 15 total pawns, and there are 5 blue pawns, so the probability of selecting a blue pawn is 5 out of 15, which is equivalent to 1 out of 3. Since we have exactly 5 pawns in each group, we have 3 equal groups, so the probability of selecting a blue is 1 out of 3. If we actually pull out a pawn and then replace it each time, the probability returns to what it was originally. So again, once we put the pawn back in with replacement, the probability returns to 1 out of 3 for selecting a blue pawn. However, if we do the experiment without replacement, it now becomes a dependent probability. So for instance, if we want to calculate what is the probability of selecting a blue pawn on both the first and second try, we need to calculate 2 probabilities. So in the first one, we have 5 out of 15, which is 1 out of 3. And then, since we have selected a blue pawn in the first trial, we now have to select one more blue pawn in the second trial. So the probability of that is now reduced to 4 out of 14 remaining pawns, which is 2 out of 7. So to calculate the combined probability of selecting both a blue pawn on the first one and the second one, we multiply 1/3 times 2/7, which gives us 2 over 21. Finally, we have to calculate the probability of simultaneous events. These are events that occur at the same time. So for instance, if we asked a student what is the probability of rolling a 1 on the number die and selecting a blue pawn at the same time, we have to calculate the probability of rolling a 1 on the number die, which is 1 out of 6 possible options, and multiply it by the probability of selecting a blue pawn, which is 1 out of 3. So we would have to take 1 out of 6, which is 1/6, times 1 out of 3, which is 1/3, and when we multiply, the probability is 1 out of 18. This is how you use the miscellaneous items in the kit to calculate compound and simultaneous events probability.